Hey, and welcome to Board with Life News for March 15th. Today I'm going to talk about Custom Heroes, The Fox in the Forest, Flip Ships, Palace of Mad King Ludwig, A Song of Ice and Fire, and the Kickstarter for Solstice. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to Board with Life News. Up first, really big news. I'm trying new stuff with my hair. I don't think I like it, but that's what's happening right now in my head. Other news, I'm going to be headed to Unpub this weekend, Unpub 7, which is a designer playtest festival convention, not festival. Basically, a bunch of designers, like 100 different designers, come and bring games that they need playtested, and you, as the audience of playtesters, can come and playtest for free. I'm going to be bringing my game Favelas. It's my newest design. I'm really excited about it. It only takes about 30 minutes to play. It's an interesting tile stacking game. So if you're going to be there, it's in Baltimore. I would love to have you drop by my table and come play. I'm going to be at table number C2. So find that or follow me on Twitter. I'm at Chris Bryan Games, and I'll be tweeting about all that stuff in my location and whatnot. So yeah, definitely come by, say hi, and hopefully play my game. All right, into the board game news. AEG announced Custom Heroes. This is a card crafting game, so this is the same system as Mystic Vale, where you have clear card sleeves and clear cards, and you can like change cards as you go by putting different, transparent cards over them. It's by the same designer as Mystic Vale, but this is a trick-taking game. Basically, in the game, you can modify the values of cards by adding, different clear sheets and try to get different things for the way you take tricks and add different abilities and stuff, like you can reverse the flow of the game or whatever. What's kind of weird is after you go around, you reshuffle all the cards, so the cards that you've modified won't necessarily be the cards you get the next time around. So it's kind of cool where the game evolves as you go, where kind of like different values will be more common or less common. It seems kind of, I don't know why I'm particularly invested in making a card good if it's not going to be mine, but I've never played the game, so I don't know. So, interesting, different take on trick-taking. Renegade Games announced 2 games that they'll be releasing this summer. Up first is The Fox in the Forest, and this is a co-production with Foxtrot that they've worked with a couple times. This is designed by Joshua Burgell. Burgell? Sorry, Joshua. No idea how to say your name. He designed Hocus. It's a 2-player trick-taking game that takes about 30 minutes. Doesn't have a lot of more information aside from like basic trick-taking stuff, so I don't know how it's unique, but I really, really like the artwork. It's very evocative, kind of fantasy children's storybook looking, really good stuff there. The second game they announced is Flip Ships. This is designed by Kane Klinko, who designed Fuse and Covert, a couple other games. It's for 1 to 4 players and plays in 30 to 45 minutes. And it's a co-op dexterity game where you have these ships and you're trying to flip them onto invading ships to destroy them and protect yourself and destroy the invading ship's mothership thing. Just a dexterity game where you're flipping ships, basically. This also has just incredible artwork. It's very reminiscent of video games. It reminds me way more of something that I would see on like Steam than something that I would see on a board game box cover. So I'm really excited about that kind of a little bit more original and unique artwork entering the board game realm. Bezier Games announced Palace of Mad King Ludwig. This is a sort of spiritual successor to Castles of Mad King Ludwig, a game that came out a couple years back that I very much enjoyed. This game's different because in Castles of Mad King Ludwig, everyone's working on their own castle. In Palace, you're collectively placing tiles on one larger palace and trying to, by the end of the game, have contributed the best tiles to the palace. There's no auction mechanic. Castles of Mad King Ludwig had a really nice, innovative auction mechanic. So this won't be there. So I'm not sure, aside from the fact that you're placing tiles on a thing, how much it actually relates to Castles of Mad King Ludwig. But, there it is. It's coming out at Essen this year. This week at the Gamma Trade Show, we've gotten a ton of information, and it's still unfolding because I record these a day early, but something that broke today, which is yesterday for when you're seeing this, is that Mon Games has named Eric Lang as their director of game design. So Eric Lang, obviously hugely famed designer over like 20 years, designed tons and tons of games, including some very popular ones for Mon, including Blood Rage and Rising Sun that's currently on Kickstarter. He will be heading up their game design division. In addition to designing games from them, he'll basically be in charge of all of their developers and overseeing development of all of their games. Congrats, Eric Lang. Congrats, Mon Games. That's, I think, going to be a really good pair that will be really interesting to see how that unfolds moving forward. Along with that huge news, they had blockbuster news, and they announced a new game, A Song of Ice and Fire, which is going to be a tabletop miniatures game set in the Game of Thrones universe. Obviously, Mon Games does some of the best miniatures, if not the best miniatures in the business. This is going to be a tabletop game that they said the rules will be able to accommodate hundreds of units if you want. This is going to be just gigantically huge because Game of Thrones is huge. Yeah. It's coming to Kickstarter in the third quarter of this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the highest selling Kickstarter ever, because I imagine that you're going to be able to spend hundreds of dollars individually, and I bet a bunch of people are going to. So it's just going to be gigantically, ridiculously huge. It'll be followed in 2018 by the retail release, and I'm sure that they plan to support it and pour all of their resources into it. So yeah, that's big news from Mon Games. This week's Kickstarter is for Solstice. This is a strategy card game for 2 to 4 players designed by Grant Rodiak, who designed Cry Havoc and Hocus, as well as some other stuff. In it, you are asymmetrical factions competing for control of like a Dune-inspired intergalactic empire. The artwork's very good, very evocative. I really like what Grant's doing with Hyperbole Games. He's using Kickstarter, but using it in a kind of a certainly more in the way that Kickstarter, I think, originally was intended to be used, where he did last year, he did a game called Druids that was kind of like handmade wooden components, and he only did like 100 or 200 copies or something like that. This game as well, you're only going to be able to get it off Kickstarter, off his web store. I think it's going to be a very small print run. It's not, just kind of, compared to last week with Rising Sun, this giant mammoth thing that from a huge company, it's just like a guy making games that he wants people to play. So if that sounds like something you want to support or something that you might be interested, it is $18 right now on Kickstarter. That is the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Chris Bryan Games. Make sure you check out my Patreon page because I'm only able to do these videos thanks to my very generous backers. I'm going to be at Unpub this weekend, as I said earlier, so if you're going to be there, please stop by. I'll probably do some sort of Unpub video next week. If not the regular news, I don't know yet. We'll see what I have energy for. Yeah, so this week's question comes from @MarkNymphius. And he asks, what's the game that brought you to the brink of never playing a board game again? I've never really been at the brink of never playing a board game again in any real way, or ever like a flip the table situation. I've certainly been very frustrated with games. There have been games of Risk that when I was much younger that were very frustrating. Often games where there's trading involved, I can get frustrating when people gang up on me, even if I'm not winning. Like, I'm totally fine being ganged up on if I'm winning the game, because that's how you should play the game. But oftentimes, people gang up on me because I often win the game, even if I'm not currently winning, and then I get really frustrated with that. So there's been times in like Settlers of Catan I got pretty frustrated. There's certainly been a Munchkin game that lasted like 47 hours, longer than I would have liked it to. That was very frustrating, and I don't really play Munchkin or Catan anymore for those reasons, amongst others. Then there are games like diplomacy-based games like Game of Thrones, the board game. I kind of take glee if somebody screws me over in that and does like a really good move. Like, those don't bother me in the same way because that is part of the strategy of the game. Whereas in Munchkin, it's just kind of it's like silly, but also, you guys know about Munchkin. Anyway, so yeah, that's probably the closest I've ever come to like quitting the hobby or flipping the table over a game, but never particularly close. All right, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week.